Do we even have a name for this? What are we calling this? The Home
Ham.
Alone Minute? Ham? Ham? Home Alone Minute?
The article "the" is going to be a thing here as well as like the Home Alones.
The band that we're in, where we play songs about the movie Home Alone.
Because is it Home Alone Minute, the Home Alone Minute, or
The Home Alone Minutes with the Home Alones?
or Good Morning America?
I think that one's off the table.
Are the Ramones already using that one?
Do the Ramones have a song called Good Morning America?
Are they Ramones or the Ramones?
You know what? I don't know. Because Pixies are just Pixies, but people call them the Pixies all the time.
Like how my granny used to say, I'm going to go to the Walmart.
Or Blockbusters.
The one that still gets me is how ubiquitous Pennies or J.C. Penney's is.
Or people always say Sears when it's really just Sear.
Like a shaman.
Get it right.
You're a seer.
Sear. There's a lawnmower and Wrangler pants in your future. No, I think we've decided to watch Home Alone minute by minute and talk about every minute of it. Why have we decided to do this?
I think the shorter list would be why not?
Because it's there.
Well, that is an interesting question. Why?
Is the movie Home Alone an enduring classic worthy of close examination?
Luckily, we didn't have to make that choice. The Library of Congress made it for us.
Is every movie in the Library of Congress worth this kind of inspection?
Yes, it's just that my preferences don't align with the others. So I'm willing to do it with this one, but would also gladly accept anyone doing the others. May not listen to them. Nope. Let me be honest with everyone. I will not listen to them.
Well, and I think you're getting close to an important point, is that Home Alone is a pretty important movie for the podcasting generation. And by that, I mean white guys in their late 30s to early 40s.
It's funny that you say that because my wife, who all the podcast listeners are familiar with here on episode 1, she's not all that much younger than me, but she shows a generational divide in that when we were talking about the scoring of Home Alone earlier, and I said, John Williams.
The Oscar nominated score for Home Alone? Okay.
I say John Williams, and she goes, oh, from Harry Potter. That is 10th on my list of John Williams.
Well, I think we'll get into John Williams a little bit more when we get to at least hearing some John Williams and maybe seeing his name on the opening credits, which is about all we see in the first minute of Home Alone.
Right. Do you want to go ahead and get into it? The first minute, which in itself almost is a meta discussion here of how do we count the minutes, because
we do have to be careful about this, right?
Right.
I'm watching it on Disney Plus. Of course, I have at least one, if not multiple copies of Home Alone on DVD. But I'm watching the Disney Plus screening, the streaming file. And I imagine you are sailing the high seas of video content.
I tried to be too legit to quit here. And I did 4 different legitimate sources, all of which I've paid for, 2 of which I likely manipulated beyond the license agreement. But I used a DVD copy of Home Alone that I own a Blu-ray copy of Home Alone that I own, as well as Disney Plus and Hulu. I believe Disney Plus and Hulu might use quite literally the same file source.
I believe since they're owned by the same conglomerate, we're probably looking at the same file source there.
Yes. The Blu-ray and DVD seem to line up with that same source file. So we're actually pretty good.
So I I'll assume that when they moved Home Alone over to a streaming service, they were using the same file that's on the DVD, right? They just
There
used the
was a
same.
there was a remaster. I
Okay.
can't tell you when it was, but maybe with some more research, I can. But I do know there was a remaster at some
Okay.
point.
So when I looked through this, the first minute of Home Alone gives us the iconic 20th Century Fox logo
Yep.
and fanfare.
Which some
And
people would not include in the film, especially if you're talking about like the ratings board. You would actually start it after that.
oh no, we're including it and we're talking about it.
Yeah, and I'm glad we are. I'm
Good.
just saying, you
And
would
I
submit that when you're submitting to ratings because you pay per minute.
is that right?
There was, oh, mm, I wish I had the kind of memory to pull up his name, but there was a gentleman who submitted a film about paint drying that I believe was in protest of that very thing,
Interesting. Oh,
forcing
and they forced the MPAA to watch all multiple hours of the boring movie
something like that. It was
to
like
prove a
10
point.
hours or something,
That's
which would have been
interesting.
prohibitively expensive to get rated.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So my first minute on Disney Plus goes from the Fox logo. We get some opening credits, and it ends like 60 seconds on the dot. We see the title card. We see like the Home Alone logo. Does
It's
that
pretty.
line up for you?
It does indeed.
Okay.
It gets right before spoiler. The light comes on.
Oh, I think the light is already on at 60 seconds for my version. Maybe I've got it a little bit off. Oh, the look on your face makes me think that I'm off.
I tell you
No,
what,
no need to go back to it. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't
it's
worry.
all good.
I don't want you to go rewatch it.
We're in
Um,
we're in the region.
so this Fox logo, I did some research, Jared. This, I think we're looking at the original 20th Century Fox logo. There are a few iterations of this logo that have been updated from time to time.
Yeah, this is not the digital one.
And this it's not the digital one, nor is it the one that was redone for CinemaScope in the 50s. I think we're looking at the original Fox logo and hearing the original fanfare of 20th Century Fox. Do you know the name of the guy who composed the fanfare? That music, that drum roll, and then like the trumpety battle, you're about to watch a movie. That
So
really exciting music that you would hear when that told you that the previews were over and you're about to see a movie.
I'm gonna say Bruno Mars.
You know what? You're so close. What if I told you that he shared the name with an iconic magazine figure and his name is not Playboy Bunny?
Spider-Man.
Ooh, so very close. Alf
Nintendo.
Alfred Newman. Alfred Newman composed that music.
Did his middle name start with E?
I don't know. I don't know. But you'll notice that
Which one's older?
I think the composer, because he was making he recorded it in like the early 40s, I think, or 30s. Like pretty soon. I guess it would have been 30s because it was pretty soon into like sound sound pictures, and they hired all
Yeah,
these
so
composers
yeah,
and
so this fanfare, so Okay, I guess I'm just sort of now registering that piece as well because this was the 50s card with the music that would have accompanied it at that time.
Well, in the 50s, they made the
The
fanfare
CinemaScope.
longer. Yeah. So they redid the logo so it would look good in CinemaScope, but then they also extended the length of the fanfare to include both the 20th Century Fox logo and the CinemaScope logo after it. So that's where we get the stringy thing at the end that's not in Home Alone. Are you
Lucky
hearing it?
us.
Are you are you hearing it in your head now?
I am.
So that came around in the 50s and stuck around for quite a while. In the 60s, they kind of get rid of it. But who makes it popular and brings it back? In, I don't know, 1977, I think.
Oh man.
Just a little
Was
guy
it
named,
another John Williams scored film?
and it's precisely why they bring it back, because John Williams uses it as part of his score. Like it fades out and then the Star Wars theme pops up with some of the same instruments. I think it's even the same key. You're more of a key guy than I am.
It is,
So very intentionally sort of bringing that back because it was sort of more of a callback to those older kind of adventure films.
which is exactly why when someone says John Williams, Harry Potter, I go like 1% of my heart just like bleeds away, never to be restored.
To be fair to your wife, she is from another land
She is.
that maybe admires Harry Potter a little more than Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Home Alone,
Superman,
Superman,
Close Encounters.
Close Encounters, always. So that's about
No
all I
way.
got for the Fox. After doing the research and then rewatching this minute, I was kind of surprised to only hear the shortened version and see what I'm pretty sure is the older logo and the older recording of the music.
I love that. I love that because I believe as we get into this, we will find that music truly elevated this film.
I definitely think it's one of the elements of it that makes it a classic.
Mm,
Right? There's so many variables that go into making any movie, but Home Alone, I think what makes it so magical is that it's got all of these pieces and all of these people are firing on all cylinders, right?
yes.
Including the first two names we see in the opening credits. Whose name do we see first? Pop quiz. Hot shot.
Do I?
You're the only one playing. Yes. We'll get
Okay.
guests someday, but for today, it's just you.
Okay.
And I will say, I'm always impressed by your impeccable memory. And I know you've probably recently reviewed this minute for the sake of us recording this, but what's the first name that we see in the opening credits here?
I believe the first one is John Hughes. I believe we reference this as a John Hughes production, in fact.
That is correct. Um, I think you'll remember that we decided to do this podcast in the presence of both of our wives. And just last night, my wife was brainstorming all the gets, all the big gets we could get for the podcast. Oh, you could get Buzz, you could get Macaulay Culkin. It'd be great if you could get John Hughes. I said, yeah, that would
That
be pretty
would be
amazing.
that would be a miracle, in
That would
fact.
be pretty big news.
To
Pretty big
so
news.
many people.
I'll hazard a guess that this is your favorite John Hughes movie.
Yes.
Do you have a second favorite? I'll be
Yes.
honest, I'm fine with some other John Hughes movies, but I don't love any of them as much as this one.
I'd say my second favorite is Lost in New York.
Okay. Do we have a non-Home Alone related John Hughes movie that that you love? Or are we proving my point that
Okay, actually, I do.
yeah, okay.
Actually, I do. Uncle Buck.
Okay.
I really like Uncle Buck.
So we've got a lot of repetitive variables here.
You're like, do you just like John Candy and Macaulay Culkin?
And John Hughes. That's a trifecta right there.
Yeah. And I don't know who directed Uncle Buck. I think it was John Hughes directing as well, right?
Oh, I can give it a goog. That sounds right. Yeah, looks like it's John Hughes.
Yeah. Whereas Home Alone, he brought in an outside director, which I would guess would be the next credit, right?
Yeah. It's a
So,
John Hughes production, but it's a Christopher Columbus film.
or as I always read it, a Chris Columbus joint.
Do you watch Home Alone on Columbus Day? Do you celebrate the man?
How can you not? The fact that his career spans all the way from 1492.
He's done more for America than that other guy. With Mrs. Doubtfire alone. Also, pretty famously directed the first two Harry Potter movies.
Which I think has something to do with Harry Potter being scored the way it was.
You think John Williams just sort of like walked in, saw Chris Columbus and goes, "Yeah, oh yeah, I know what to do."
You get a shared language with those folks, right? And then Chris goes, "Hey, can you do that thing you do?"
Can you fart out some more gold? The Harry Potter score is pretty fantastic. It's not Jurassic Park, but it's pretty dang good.
Here's the great thing about John Williams. I don't think he phoned it in for those movies, but he could have. If
I've heard people criticize him for like sort of going back to the well. So I guess he's got like a couple movements. If you're and we're music people, but we're not John Williams music people. Uh, and I guess some people sort of recognize a lot of the, like similar movements and stuff, and kind of
sure,
uh,
I've
call him
heard the
out on that.
complaints.
Yeah,
I've heard the complaints and I've picked them apart, and they don't hold water.
if it's not broke, do not fix it.
It's like saying that a country music writer is using a 154 chord progression again. God forbid.
Oh, another blues riff. So, and his music is the next thing that we hear right after the fanfare. We get that like cloud covered. Is it a full moon? It looks like a pretty full moon to me.
It looks full. It looks full. And I think this is I'd maybe even propose this as a recurring segment, the unsung hero segment, where who is the unsung hero in this minute? Because a lot of people get a lot of credit for Home Alone, but one person who didn't get a lot of credit until probably several years after this is Kyle Cooper.
Jerod, tell me who Kyle Cooper is.
Kyle Cooper designed this title sequence that we are watching.
What a legend.
Part of which is the home icon that we have come to associate with Home Alone. You take the font away, that that book font.
Yeah, the
I assume
the
it's
the
century.
serify.
It looks century esque, but it's
Yeah,
whatever condensed book font it is. You take that away, that home icon immediately familiar.
that blue is. I mean, that's Home Alone blue to me.
I have said that before. I have used that as a barometer for a color. Like, oh, that's like a Home Alone blue.
Yeah, an HAB. We're not at the logo yet, though. Yes, I
Sorry,
do agree.
sorry,
I do
but
agree. Recurring segment, unsung hero of this minute. Kyle Cooper, you're a legend. What a
Well,
king.
well, some people who are kind of in graphic design circles know him, so he has gotten some because he's partially credited with making cool intro credits. Like he did all the Spider-Man stuff. But Seven was the one that kind of got him some notoriety.
Okay.
He did a lot of
Was he
uh,
the guy who turned the V into a seven? Was that his idea? Or is that was that Morgan Freeman? Go ahead and do Morgan Freeman deciding to make the V a seven. I know you've got it in you.
I'll put that in post.
Okay. Wait till to the end of the episode for Jared will do his best Morgan Freeman convincing David Fincher that the V should be a seven.
I need to go watch Driving Miss Daisy first because if you do an impression of him in Seven, it won't sound right.
You've
But if
done
you
so many
do,
good impressions for me. I'm surprised you didn't have a Morgan Freeman like to pull out of your pocket.
oh, I do. But to have it recorded forever,
You got to go drink some tea first. You got to get that
nerve
ready.
wracking. That's nerve wracking.
He might hear this.
Oh, that's frightening. But the reason I bring up Kyle Cooper beyond just being unsung heroes because you mentioned the moon, right?
Yeah.
This is a title card that could have been done entirely via matte or digital or what have you. But that moon, that is a real moon, or what appears to be a real moon.
Oh yeah, it's an RM for sure.
Which is tinted a little bit of HAB.
Yeah, it's got an HAB filter on it for sure.
But he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to put the moon in there at all.
He didn't have to wait till the moon was full, but he did.
But he did. And
And
that's
you're
what
right.
we
Unsung
hear.
hero, one of the many, many variables that makes this a perfect movie.
And is why I would contend that Home Alone, for many other reasons we'll find as we go through this, is the good luck Chuck of a lot of film professionals.
Whatever do you mean?
We find that due to kind of original budgeting and quality over name hires and things like that, a lot of the crew for this film, this was their first big film. Not cast, mind you, but crew. And like I say, Kyle Cooper doing the titles on this, he didn't get a lot of acclaim until he did Seven, which was years later. Same with the director of photography. Same with a handful of other folks in the crew that don't show up in the credits that we're seeing here, but we'll see them as this progresses.
Is Good Luck Chuck famous for breaking a lot of people?
No, the story of Good Luck Chuck is that whenever he's in a relationship with a woman, right afterward, she gets married.
Oh, but that would imply that Home Alone was some sort of failure. Because isn't the idea of Good Luck Chuck is that like you date this person and it doesn't work out, it messes up, and then you go on to a big hit of love?
Which means Heartbreak Hotel would have been the Good Luck Chuck. Because that's where everyone was pulled from to come do Home Alone.
Hmm.
But it was recognizing their quality, which is again why I say it wasn't just about getting names. It was about getting people that these folks had worked with before and they'd seen their work and they didn't care that they had done some not so great things before. They were like, I like what this person has to offer and I want them to work on this movie.
Interesting. Because I mean, I think of like, the top names in terms of the production. John Hughes, Chris Columbus, John Williams. Like those are all pretty heavy hitters by the time Home Alone's out, right? John Williams for sure is already a legend. John Hughes already has quite a few hits under his belt.
Right. I'm talking about director, photography, editor, things like that, where you have folks that didn't have huge illustrious careers prior to Home Alone and ended up having great careers after.
Well, I think anyone who gets to put Home Alone on their resume is set for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I
So
was I was part of the magic.
yeah, so maybe Good Luck Chuck is not the best one. Maybe it's more a launching point. It's the start of many careers, I guess. The
Yeah, I think uh Robert Wise edited Citizen Kane, and then he goes on to direct The Sound of Music and Star Trek and all the he became a studly filmmaker in his own right. So yeah, it's it's more like Citizen Kane than Good Luck Chuck. Home Alone is my point.
in many ways. But right, I meant more the plot of Good Luck Chuck as opposed to the film because I will
Hey,
I will
Jerod, save it for your Good Luck Chuck minute by minute analysis podcast, please.
so the titles.
Here, I want to play a game. Don't look at the titles. It sounds like you might have it pulled up somewhere.
I I have it just here uh,
Don't
to pull up the.
watch it.
Okay.
Okay. This is, I want to play how deep can Jerod go?
Ooh.
So we start with it's a John Hughes production. It's a Chris Columbus film. And then after that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 11 names above the title.
I will say that there are a couple names in there that I know are there because I didn't believe that they should have been there. And I'll say more what I mean on that in a bit. So Max number one, right?
Oh, you call him Mac.
Joe Pesci,
2 for 2,
Daniel Stern.
3 for 3.
They're together. And then I know John Hurd got better billing, so I think he's next.
That is correct.
He got better billing than Catherine O'Hara, but I'm trying to think of who's there. There are others between them because they weren't right next to each other.
Like they should be as husband and wife.
I think about that when I see like titles.
Doesn't it always bother you when the movie poster has the two big stars names above the title, but they're not lined up with the people?
Drives me insane, especially when there's like five people and like four of them are in alignment.
Just
And then like
just
the
you've got
fourth,
Photoshop Studio. Just put them in the order that they're contractually obligated to be listed in. Just
mm,
move them around.
yeah.
Put their names above their faces. Okay, enough stalling. Who's after John Hurd?
Oh, the South Bend Shovel Slayer. I'm blanking on his name, but
Hmm. I'll
Old
give you a hint. I'll
Old
give
Man
you a
Marley.
hint. I'll give you a hint on his real name. Whoa.
Oh, Robert Blossom.
Roberts.
Roberts Blossom.
He's two Roberts put together. Roberts Blossom. Fun trivia. Can you name two other movies that Robert Blossom and John Williams have collaborated on?
Oh man, no.
He's also in Close Encounters, and he's also in Always, two Steven Spielberg joints.
What was he in Always?
I have no idea.
Let's save that one for the Goog later.
Let's say I did some research for this podcast. I didn't rewatch Always for this podcast.
I think that's more than enough commitment.
I don't know. The people deserve better, right?
Let's find out. We should establish a Gmail.
We should, yes. We'll have that. We'll have that ready. And we'll edit that in.
Yeah, we'll have Morgan Freeman say the Gmail.
Okay, so who's after Robert's Blossom?
Then it's the uh, the kids, or at least the two. It's Lenny and Buzz.
Ooh. And this is where you've misstepped.
Ah,
Because they go Robert's Blossom and Catherine O'Hara. They give her the and.
well, that's what I was saying, right? John Hurt and Catherine O'Hara weren't together; they were mixed. I apologize that was assumed that Catherine O'Hara was next.
Oh,
Because I was saying like this was the whole the movie poster thing. Again, they're not together, but they should have been. And I was like, who's in between them?
fair. Fair. Okay.
So yeah. So
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
I didn't earn it because I didn't articulate that well, but
So we go John Hurd, Robert's Blossom, Catherine O'Hara. There's an old man between them, which is a different movie. And then you're saying Liddy and Buzz are next?
yeah, because they're the two. Because it's these weird couplets that you see of like things that do belong together, things that don't belong together.
Yeah, they start pairing them together after that. I do think they put Liddy and Buzz together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the last set that we get are three names.
The last set is pairs that aren't together, or not a pair. It's the last set is Uncle Frank, but not Aunt Leslie.
Correct.
And this is the name that I sort of foreshadowed before, but I actually don't know his name.
Well, I guess we should go back and we're probably pronouncing them wrong. I am. Angela Goethals is Lenny.
Right.
And then Devin. Ray? Brett Ray? Ray? Apologies, Devin. Come on the podcast and tell us how to pronounce your last name, please.
Rattray?
But yeah, then
Big DR.
Uncle Frank's next. Jerry Bamman also might be mispronouncing that. And then you got two more names with Uncle Frank.
So I don't know one of them because I just knew it wasn't Aunt Leslie, which bothered me. But then there was the other one, which the reason I remember it being there, but not the actual name, is I remember it being something that can be a non-recurring segment, which is a segment just for this episode, which is who has the best agent? Because I remember it being Sergeant Balzac.
Yeah, Larry Hankin.
Who's also most recently we rewatched all the Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. He was like the junkyard guy.
Oh yeah.
And I remember saying like, hey, you know who that is? Because like you see that face and you're just like
Rose Hyper on 2.
I just remember that like piece of donut falling from his face.
He's the best. He's also Carl in Billy Madison.
Oh yeah.
He's hanging out with Bradley Whitford.
Yeah. I just remember seeing his name and being like, wait, what? How did you get that far up?
He's in the movie much less than John Candy.
Well, it's like all the union and contract stuff because it's like, okay, John Hurd being above Catherine O'Hara is a little strange given like the placement in the film.
But she gets the and, which makes her like more special somehow. I don't know if there are like union rules that go into that, but she gets the and.
For all the things that I have a decent memory on, there are some things that I have a terrible memory on, and I'm sure that I've read 10 different articles about the differences between and, with, introducing, and all of that in credits.
We'll look into that. Morgan Freeman's going to come in at the end and explain why Catherine O'Hara gets the and, but comes below all these other uh, male figures, some with much fewer lines than her.
Yeah. But what was Balzac's name again?
Larry Hankin.
Larry Hankin.
Hankin. All right, there's one more person. There's Uncle Frank, Officer Balzac. One more.
If it's not Leslie, then it has to be one of the kids. Is it Heather?
It's Megan.
It's Megan. Okay.
It's Megan. Hillary Wolf, who, with the briefest of Google searchers, showed me that she was on the Olympic judo team.
Which do you think is the more lucrative career?
I think Home Alone residuals are far more lucrative than the ongoing checks you get from being in a couple of Olympic teams. I
Well,
don't think you
especially,
get any residuals or much money for that.
which is a shame.
It's high time we paid our Olympic judo artists what they deserve.
I would be open to having a judo awareness month.
A jam. Let's do it.
But her residuals are actually your point stands, especially given her placement here, right? Because if she's this high up in the credits, that would assume that she negotiated up to whatever that is, right?
She's above the title. That's wild.
In blog speak, that's newspaper speak for above the fold.
Yeah, I mean that's a big deal, right?
I
To
think
have your
so.
name listed before the name of the movie.
Yeah.
It it assumes that we're more interested in watching a Hillary Wolf movie than a movie called Home Alone. Like we see Hillary Wolf and we go, ooh, go on.
7-time Judo Academy Award nominated.
I think she had two Olympic appearances.
But you don't get 2 Olympic appearances without having myriad other appearances.
Yes, yeah. My investigations showed me a long list of sort of national awards and all sorts of acclaim in the judo world. At the Olympic level, a couple appearances in Atlanta, and
96, what's up?
yeah, Izzy.
How many things in your home still have Izzy on them?
Oh man, you know what? I think there's at least one Izzy in my house somewhere, and I've been out of my parents' house for decades.
I'm certain there's a Coca-Cola spoon somewhere that has him on it.
Again, just like Home Alone, like we're of a certain the podcaster demographic. You've got Home Alone and you've got Izzy from the 1996 Olympics.
He would be above the title.
If only. I mean, if you follow a certain trajectory, Home Alone comes out in 90. Home Alone 2 comes out in what, 92? Do they wait
Yeah.
2 years for that one? There's a what if universe that Uwatu the Watcher is checking out right now, where Macaulay Culkin didn't put his foot down and say, nah, no more of these. And we get to 1996 and they're thinking, you know what, Mac? What would be really cool? We got these Olympics coming up. What if you teamed up with Izzy, the 1996 Atlanta Olympics mascot?
See, if Barcelona and Atlanta had swapped places and that like national pride, that invigorated sense of spirit.
Home Alone 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Lost at the Olympics.
Mm.
They both have Super Nintendo games.
So would this have gone into 64 territory?
In 96? I don't think so. I think that's still Super Nintendo.
No, but you're saying 3, 4, 5, right? That's what I'm saying is like how far into video games does Home Alone go in this universe?
Oh, I think whatever powers stopped the HACU at in New York was probably right. We're probably on the best timeline there, where Macaulay Culkin doesn't just keep running these things into the ground.
Agreed. I wake up every morning with a sense of gratitude that this is the one that we're in.
Where Macaulay Culkin only made 2 Home Alone movies.
Yeah, this is it. We've peaked as a species.
I agree. Um, and then we get into the unsung hero of this minute, Kyle Cooper, designer of the logo. And that's the first minute of Home Alone.
And what a minute it was.
Um,
Nay, what a minute it is. Do we do an in memoriam for John Hurd and Robert Plural Blossom?
and John Hughes.
I think that goes without saying.
Um,
Actually, if we don't do in memoriam for John Hughes, that means we can still get him as a guest, right?
that would probably require some pretty weird science.
So good.
We have a band called the Home Alones that only play songs about the movie Home Alone, but we haven't really discussed what the theme song for this podcast would be. I'm assuming we'll use one of our tunes in some capacity. But what a weird thing it would be to just use the weird science music until Danny Elfman politely asks us to stop.
Should our theme music be John Williams style orchestral sounds doing I Made My Family Disappear?
The popular song from the band The Home Alones that
which I realize is a segment we skipped.
What's that? Our ethos?
Our credentials.
Yeah, we did sort of just start talking and not prove that we deserve to be the ones talking about this in any way.
Right.
Jerod, why would you say that we deserve to be the ones to make a podcast that breaks down the movie Home Alone minute by minute? Do you play guitar and sing in a band called the Home Alones that only plays original songs about the movie Home Alone?
Yes, I do. But that's not why we deserve it. I would argue that we don't deserve it. But after 103 minutes, we'll show why we deserve it.
It's kind of like when I started teaching, I didn't have a certificate, but boy, let me prove it to you along the way.
Let me learn on a few years of kids.
Let me ruin a generation, and then you'll find that I'm actually pretty good at this. Has your band, the Home Alones, your band and mine, one litmus test to any band's legitimacy is interstate commerce. Have you made money with the Home Alones band in multiple states?
Is the IRS asking?
No.
Then yeah.
Yeah. In my high school band was called Tastes Like Burning. Hold for applause. But often on
See, this is the Home Alone generation.
often every now and then we would get a message either like on AOL or MySpace or something from a different band called Taste Like Burning, and they would be trying to convince us that they had a right to the name that we did not, and they would claim they used it first, and one band got very serious and said that they had a legal right to the name Taste Like Burning, a Simpsons reference.
I was about to say, you're arguing over something that none of you have a right to.
Exactly. None of us created, because they had played a show in a different state. So that makes it federal law or something. That they had the rights to the name. And I think we would always write back like, hey, we'll never cross paths. Good luck. We're brothers, great minds. ...
See, this is where I would have just responded to them with franchise information.
Might be interested in our gold package that grants you the rights to the name Tastes Like Burning in the Northeast region of these United States.
Here's what I'm willing to offer for that size territory. Yeah, they're playing a little fast and loose with the old trademark thing. But you're right. Interstate commerce is what does that. And the Home Alones have indeed participated in interstate commerce, both in live events as well as recorded music.
Don't forget a handful of t-shirts.
Well, that's the business we're all in, right? It's not the music business.
We're all in the t-shirt business for sure.
So be sure to get your Home Alone Minute t-shirts. Available everywhere shirts are sold. I love those bold statements. I can't get enough of the people with like everywhere something is sold. It's just so bold.
I like the implication that, like, you know, if they're not carrying your t-shirts, they're not a fine establishment. So it now becomes a test of the places that you shop. What are you, some sort of hick? Your grocery store doesn't have this?
Available at all fine Al's Toy Barn outlets.
I do like the idea of a Home Alone blue shirt, a Hap shirt, and in just all capital century serif font. It just says ham, and that's supposed to mean something to people. They're gonna drop $30 on that shirt and be like, ham, yeah. The Home Alone Minute, presented by the Home Alones.
Ooh, presented by. That's another thing in the credits.
This is a Home Alones production.
Not the Home Alones production.
The Home Alones production. Yeah. I like this shirt.
Should we open source the shirt? So I just put up a vector image of what that ham should be at size.
And you use whatever Cricut or screen printing technology you have available to you to make your own.
Yep.
We're the People's Podcast.
Yep.
I like
it. Because what we don't want to happen is the t-shirt lobbying to happen, where someone comes in and they buy hundreds of thousands of shirts, and then they try to influence our message over the course of this podcast.
I can't be bought. I'm doing this for my love of the movie Home Alone.
I'm doing it for the chicks. Can you say that now? I feel like that's not PC.
Yeah, I think you have to say, I'm doing this to have sex with ladies. How many more minutes of this movie do we have now?
102.
102. So we have 102 slots to fill. That's what she said.
Okay. You beat me to it.
And who wants in? Who's ready to get the word out on their projects that has something to say about a specific minute of the movie Home Alone?
Yeah, that's an interesting marketing challenge. Because like if you want to do co-promotion and you have something to hawk, how can you make it tie in with a specific minute Home Alone? Like imagine you're a local sports memorabilia collectibles shop.
I'm closing my eyes. I'm picturing it. I'm drowning in autographed jerseys.
Right.
Commemorative footballs.
Your favorite minute might be the BB gun scene where the laundry chute is lined with collectible figurines.
Yeah.
Which you have available among many other fine collectibles.
On your eBay store.
And that's why that episode is brought to you by Joe's Collectibles.
Visit Joe's Collectibles at ebay.com/7V capital MR4 pound Q.
That's also done in Morgan Freeman's voice. Is Daisy.
Morgan Freeman could have been Marley.
He couldn't have been Jimmy.
Stop that boy.
No.
Bathroom boss.
Just cut to his internal monologue about Andy Dufresne. First time I saw him.
See, it's golden already.
A V kind of looks like a 7 if you turn your head the right way. No, you're right, boss. I'll leave it to Kyle Cooper. The man sure seems to know what he's doing.